Hey guys, this is Lexi with Dogs Are My Patronus on Tumblr. So I decided that I was just going to start going through some reader questions and start answering them on my channel. So if anyone has anything they'd like me to cover or any questions they want answered, feel free to comment below or message me on Tumblr or whatever method works best for you. Anonymous, publicly, doesn't really matter. So this question I'm going to be handling today came from a reader who said that, yes, I understand that alpha dominance theory is obviously false, but how do I communicate with my dog when playtime is over and when I'm being serious? And that's actually a common problem I've seen where people, they understand that the alpha dominance theory obviously is a myth, but they go too far in the other direction and they say, my dog is free to do whatever he wants. There are no rules. There are no regulations. I'm not dominating him. Because that's just dangerous. Because your dog doesn't have the ability to rationalize like a human adult does and say, ooh, this might kill me. I can't eat this because it's bad for me. And you can't really treat them the way you would a human child because you can rationalize with a 5-year-old. You can explain, I know you don't like the dentist, but if you don't go for your checkups now, later on you'll get cavities and then you'll have to start drilling. And trust me, that is going to be so much worse than having him look at your mouth right now. You can't do that with a dog, you know. You have to put rules in place that your dog probably won't ever understand. Like, he might... What is that you're chewing on? Hey, are you allowed to have that? As I was saying, they will get into things that they are not allowed to have. And you have to put rules into place to keep them from doing that. Because otherwise you have a situation where they might get into something that could literally kill them. And if they don't take you seriously, even if they don't understand the command, drop it, or stop, or ouse, then, oh, I'm just confusing her. Then you have a situation where you don't have the control that you need over your dog, and he doesn't respect you. Or the rules that are in place, and you can't enforce them, and then that's how dangerous things end up happening. Now, the difference between dominating your dog and being strict with them is the way you go about training these rules and understanding that your dog doesn't understand these rules, but he will follow them without questioning them if you go about it the right way. Like, your dog's probably never going to understand why you're going to make him sit before giving him his food, but in his mind, even though he doesn't understand it, hey, if I sit down, I get my food, so works for me. Or he won't understand why you want him to walk beside you when he's on the leash without pulling or tugging. But if it means we get to go on walks and it means I get treats, okay, sure, as long as it makes you happy. And the thing is that even though dogs don't understand the rules that you put in place, they have such a desire to please and such a desire to make you happy that even if they don't understand it, they say, wow, my person is so excited when I do this, I'm going to keep doing this. And so without dominating your dog or creating a power dynamic, you can get your dog to do certain things, and you can be strict with them, but in a loving way. Just like you would be strict with your kid. You don't have to get physical to explain to him why he needs to go to the dentist without complaining. You can lovingly guide your dog to following your rules without beating on him or dominating him or whatever else, creating a negative power relationship. So, like I said, the thing to keep in mind is, first of all, your dog's not going to understand the rules that you're putting in place. He's going to follow them because the trade-off is worth it. And keeping in mind that your dog doesn't understand why those rules are there, he's also not going to understand exceptions to the rules. which means if you say one thing in your training session and then don't reinforce it when you're playing with him, he's not going to understand why it's okay one time and not okay the next time. A common example that I use is letting your dog sit on the couch. Now, this isn't a debate on whether or not dogs are allowed to be on the couch. That's totally up to you. Whether you want your dog on the furniture or not is none of my business. No judgment here, no matter what you decide to do. But if you do decide one way or the other, you need to understand that if you always let your dog sit on the furniture without creating a cue word for it or giving him permission beforehand and just kind of let him do it, whatever he wants, he will not understand the exception to that rule. Let's say your grandmother comes to visit and she's just had hip surgery and she's very fragile, and your dog really can't be jumping up all over her on the couch because he could literally break her bones. You're not going to be able to explain that to him. He's not going to understand why you're saying, no, get off. He's going to be so confused. He's going to be, what did I do wrong? I'm always allowed to do this. Why is this not okay? And it's just so much confusion because he's not understanding the situation as it is, where at this moment it's pretty dangerous for him to be on the couch. And that could really upset him and confuse him. So my solution would be, if you do want to let your dog on the couch, even if always or just occasionally, create a cue word for it. Make him sit and wait for you to say, okay, come up, and motion for him to come up before letting him go on there, so that he understands that he needs to wait for your permission before climbing up, and that sometimes you will say yes, sometimes you'll say no. Why don't you go lie down in your bed, or go lay down over here, and you can send him somewhere else and he'll do it. So that if the situation comes where someone is sitting on the couch, or where you can't have your dog on the couch for whatever reason, you can communicate that with him without confusing him. So when he says, can I please come up and join Grandma on the couch, you can say, no, go to your bed. And he'll go to his bed, and he would still be like, wait, well, I really want to go on the couch instead of my bed, but it's not that big a deal. And this applies to so many things like jumping. Some people don't care if their dog jumps all over them. Other people really do. Me personally, I don't mind if my dog jumps up on me, but I want her to understand that sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not. And if I want you to jump on me, that's okay, but you can't be jumping up on strangers. So I create a cue for it. I don't let her jump on me unless I've given her a cue. And I say jump or up. And I motion up like this, and then she jumps. And without that cue, she won't jump. So she understands that it's only okay if I say it's okay. And I think it's okay to be strict with your dog in that regard and not allow certain behaviors outside of a cue. Because otherwise, like I said, you create situations where it's okay in one instance but not okay in the other, and you're not enforcing those behaviors appropriately or giving a cue word for their behavior for them to understand it's okay in this situation, but it's not okay in this situation. The cue word is what helps your dog understand the difference between the two. If you let him jump up sometimes and not the others without any kind of cue word, he's not going to be able to understand when it's okay and when it's not. When you say jump or stay down, you've created a trigger word for him that he can hold on to and say, okay, it's all right in this. If she says jump, it's not all right if she says off. And that applies to everything you do with your dog. For example, one of the most important commands you can teach your dog is aus or off, or whatever words you want to use to signal it's over, stop. And that applies for any kind of playtime, anything your dog is doing. You want him or her to understand that when you say aus, stop. Whatever it is you're doing, it needs to stop. Whether it's playing bitey dog, whether it's playing tag, whether you're playing tug of war, whether you're playing keep away, hide and seek, it doesn't matter. When you say ouse, he needs to stop, and he needs to understand that that's what that word means. So that if you do enjoy playing bitey dog or keep away in one situation, but right now you're done and it's over and you don't feel like playing anymore, you can communicate very clearly without confusing him that the situation that was okay is not okay anymore, and that you're done for now. And that's the thing, is a lot of times people will go to dog training school or hire a trainer, and the dog will do really great in those sessions, and then they go home and they fail to reinforce the behavior once they get home, and then they don't understand why their dog doesn't sit when they tell them to sit anymore. Because you end up treating things as a joke, or you laugh them off like, haha, you got my pillow again, that's so cute, cut it out, okay, stop, cut it out. And then you start to get more serious, and you get more angry because your dog's still holding up your bedroom pillow and he's not letting go, and he's starting to tear on it and get slobber on it, and it's not funny anymore. The thing is that you need it to not be funny to begin with. And I don't mean you need to lash out at your dog. You need to use that as an opportunity from the get-go. Whenever your dog has something that you don't really want him playing with, you need to, right in that moment, you need to say, all right, stop. Drop it. You can have this instead, and give him something that he's allowed to have instead. And that way you avoid a situation where he grabs the decorative pillows off the couch, or he tries to eat the stuffing, or whatever else it is. You've already established your rules and reinforced them for later on. So ultimately, point that I'm trying to make is, one, it's okay to be strict with your dog. It doesn't mean you're trying to dominate him. It just means you're looking out for him, and that you are putting rules into place so that if the situation comes where, for example, he grabs the kitchen knife off the counter or starts running into traffic, that you have those cue words that can signal stop this behavior, and they will stop immediately because they know that's what you want. They understand the cues, and they get rewards when they do it. So even if they don't understand why you don't want them to get hit by a car, they'll stop anyway. Or, with the kitchen knife, they don't understand why that could literally kill them. They're going to stop using it, and they're going to drop it when you say to drop it. So being strict does not mean you're dominating your dog. You can do it in a loving and kind way, and being consistent is key. You need to reinforce your cues every single time in order to avoid confusion, because your dog won't understand the exception. He needs that cue word to help him differentiate between the two situations. Otherwise, he's not going to get it. And then you wonder why he sits when you tell him to sit one time, but then won't sit in another situation, because you're not reinforcing the command that you've put out there. So be firm, be consistent, be patient. It takes a while before your cue words are ingrained in them. This little one over here is 6 months old, and we still have some issues with drop it sometimes. So, dog training is more about training yourself than it is training your dog. If we were perfect dog handlers, our dogs would not have any problem whatsoever. Usually it's our own shortcomings that end up causing the problems. So, keep that in mind, and I promise it's okay to be strict, and it's okay to have rules. Your dog will love you anyway, as long as you provide a loving and patient environment for them. All right, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, critiques, feel free to let me know at any time. I'd be more than happy to address them. See you next time. Bye!